Hello, and thank you for attending this presentation. My name is Jordan Pusey, and I'm the Product Marketing Manager for Shavlik. Today, we're going to talk about an exciting product that will help you with your patching needs, Shavlik Protect. So first on the agenda is patching. How can we solve some of the problems that we have with patching? What are some of the problems that we have? Are you aware that there are some problems that we have with patching, including patching third-party applications? Are you aware that some organizations ignore essential parts of the patching process and could potentially open up security vulnerabilities? Well, we're going to talk about that. The other thing we're going to talk about is Shavlik Protect, the latest version of Shavlik Protect. We're excited about this version, and we feel that you're going to get all the things that you need to do to be able to patch your organization and be able to overcome the vulnerabilities that you have inside of your organization through an effective patching process. And Shavlik Protect makes that patching process very easy. Then we're going to go through some real in-depth features of Shavlik Protect, and we're going to go through a little bit of an on-screen demo where we're going to show you some of the pieces of Protect and how you can discover machines, be able to patch your environment, and be able to patch the VMware virtualization infrastructure. And then as part of the wrap-up, we're going to introduce to you several versions of Protect that will help you, in addition to patching, but be able to introduce some additional security features. And then we'll wrap it all up. The first thing that we talk about are some of the IT challenges that we have in today's organization. Security hacks, vulnerabilities, and anything that has to do with a missing patch could potentially cause downtime, data loss, and potential unemployment for IT individuals. We want to be able, from Shavlik, to be able to help you with your position, help you with your job as an IT administrator to be able to patch your organization so you don't become the next headline. Third-party patching in many client systems is essentially ignored in most organizations. They're very good at patching the OS, but not necessarily identifying additional applications. And we're going to go into some details about how you could potentially open up your organization for additional hacks and additional data loss based on some of these applications that are out there in the market today. The other thing is the mantra of IT, which is we have all of this to support across the organization, but we don't always have the budgets that we need to support those applications. So how can we be more efficient? How can we take those manual processes and automate those processes with effective software to be able to make them more efficient in our organization? And then the other thing is that I have an IT organization that needs to be more efficient, but they're obviously taking up way too much time in patching their organization. And the next thing is that patching my systems is simply taking too much of IT's time. How can we reduce the amount of time that IT takes in a manual effort to be able to automate those processes and be able to patch effectively without error the rest of the organization so our staff can stay focused on the initiatives that drive the business? I currently do not have a definable patch strategy. This is an inherent problem that we run into a lot of organizations. I don't have a patching strategy, or I just simply patch Microsoft patches that come on Patch Tuesday. Well, we're going to show you how you can have a better patching strategy, how you can fill the gaps and be able to be more secure, decrease the risk, and overcome the obstacles that we have in today's modern computing environment. We know that 75% of attacks use publicly known vulnerabilities in commercial software. We also know those attacks could have been prevented had there been a patch in place. Hackers are smart. They know the vulnerabilities inside of an organization, and they know that organizations install software that is not being patched or install software that is unknown to the organization. Gartner has come back and said, although patching has been a solved problem for many years, even decades, a lot of organizations still struggle today, and they struggle mightily with patching. So it's amazing to us that patching has been invented 15 plus years ago, way back in Windows NT days, and still people have not solved the problem of patching systems. We see a lot of organizations, again, focused on just Microsoft patches, or we see a lot of organizations that are just focused on a certain set of critical servers, but totally disregard the rest of the organization. So the other thing that Gartner talks about is this third-party applications. And, in the deepest, darkest woods of IT, patching third-party applications on a desktop remains a significant challenge for many of these organizations. So we're going to talk a little bit later about how can Protect from Shavlik help you with those different applications outside of a third party. A good example is the Presbyterian Church here in the United States. They support about 440 employees. They have 2 different locations, about 450 PCs and 50 servers. It's not a large organization, but patching is certainly a problem with such a small IT organization shop. So how can we help them? Not only can protect very large organizations and very large data centers, but we can also protect a lot of small businesses that are interested in making sure that they are not the headlines. So again, they have 2 network engineers that go out and just did patches, and it took them about 4 hours a day just on server patching, just for those 50 servers. And this, in our mind, is not a good return on their investment. So the solution here, of course, is Shavlik Protect, and we took 3 hours a month to patch both clients and the servers total, as opposed to 2 network engineers for 4 days just to patch the servers. And they're able to update all the applications, which just takes hours. No matter how many applications need patching, instead of being nearly a full-time job. So here's 3 questions that I have for you. What does your patching process look like today? What about third-party application updates? Does your patching solution support data center, virtualization, and client systems in one solution? Well, we're going to talk about how Protect can help you with your patching process, be able to expand it beyond just the operating system and servers, and going into client systems, virtualization, all the different fun things that we're going to talk about with Shavlik Protect. And then again, that really big, ugly eyesore inside of organizations, which is that third-party applications. So I want to introduce to you Shavlik Protect. The latest version is 9.1. And this is an amazing version that will talk about some of the details about how we can help you protect your organization through Shavlik Protect. So what are some of the features of Shavlik Protect? Well, the first thing that we talked about is not only patching the OS, but also patching third-party applications. And Shavlik Protect has a pretty extensive catalog of third-party applications that we can patch. So let's talk about the data center. So servers are number 1 in an organization. We know that. We understand that your servers contain the critical data that helps your business grow. And how can we protect that data, and how can we protect your infrastructure by making sure that you have the latest patches on those servers? Well, the first thing that we can do is we can go after virtualization. We understand that when you have an organization, virtualization is very prevalent, and we're going to be able to help you patch that. So we have some amazing options for things like Agentless patch, making sure those virtualization machines are lean and mean, and being able to patch those machines. Not only patching what's the virtual machines on the machine, but also being able to patch the hypervisor. And then online and offline patching and snapshot rollback support. What happens when an organization is spinning up virtual machines outside of what the normal process would be? Well, we can be able to help you discover those machines, being able to tie into VMware and vCenter, and being able to identify those machines so that we can get them patched before they come online. And that is very important, especially for things like templates. When you're creating additional machines or you're trying to balance loads and things, those are the different types of things that we can do, is spin up those machines with the patches already created on them. The other thing is that we're going to be able to patch all of the physical servers as well, and with a lot of the same different options that we have. So we have options for both agentless, and we also have options for agented if you have servers that are not always connected to the data center, or you need a specific agent to be able to go over WANs and different types of networking infrastructure. And then all of those features translate into client workstations. So what happens when a user doesn't have the patches? Or some organizations even rely on the poor user to be able to check yes on all of those boxes to update all those applications. I don't know about you, but if I have to go through every little box that says, yes, I want to update this application, yes, I want to update this application, or even worse, if I just simply ignore those, then we're in real trouble. So being able to patch those client systems with reporting and being able to be compliant, that is very important. And we can do that both on the network, so PCs that are constantly connected, PCs that come in on a regular basis, we can patch those. But we can also have a cloud agent, so PCs that hardly ever see the internals of the network, we're able to control those PCs, install a cloud-based agent, and being able to patch all of those off-premise PCs. Same with servers as well. Let's talk about some of the benefits. So what are some of the things, the problems that you're trying to solve? Well, we can patch easily across all environments. So there's not one tool for servers, there's not one tool for clients. You don't have different tools for different types of configurations. You don't have one department using one tool and another department using another tool. We can patch across all environments. Is it a virtual environment? Is it a server environment? We can patch the OS, we can patch third-party applications. Anything that has to do with updating software is something that Shavlik Protect can help you with. We can also decrease the risk. We can increase security, and we can be compliant. There's a lot of regulations out there, PCI, HIPAA, all the ones that you're interested in being able to be compliant and demonstrating that you're compliant with those regulations. So we can help you with that. Shavlik Patch can help you be compliant and can prove it with a compliance report. The other thing is just simply decreasing the risk. Nobody wants to be the headline, so Shavlik Protect can help you with all of that. And then being able to gain in-depth information about your organization, being able to identify problem spots, being able to find those servers that do not have the current and latest updates. Those are all things that we can help you out with Shavlik Protect. Then the last piece of this is to simplify patch management. This is probably our forte from Shavlik Protect. Shavlik is about how can we make this process effective in your organization that will help you with the security risks, but make it easy enough that your IT organization is not spending large amounts of time getting this job done. Again, back to the Gartner part of this presentation, which says, in the deepest, darkest woods, we're still not being able to effectively manage our patch management processes across our organization. So we've come up with a solution that is easy to install, easy to use, and can patch your entire organization in a single solution. If you notice that our logo on Shavlik is a clock, and the needles point to 10 and 20. So it's 10 minutes to set up, 20 minutes to configure, giving you that time to value in less than 30 minutes. So being able to run very quickly. The interface, as you'll see later on in this presentation, is simple and intuitive, and we can accelerate patching from the amount of time it takes, months, to a short amount of time where we've automated most of the patching process. So let's talk about some of the features of Shavlik Protect. We break down the features into 3 different buckets. First, comprehensive patch management. So we talked about how many things that Shavlik Protect can do. The other thing is the ease of use. How easy is it to use? How easy is it to install and configure? And then the last piece of this is the virtualization support. So the nice thing about Shavlik is that we have very good experience with VMware, and we have some very good integrations into VMware. So our virtualization experience is by far the best. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this slide. I want to continue on to the next slide so that we can get into some more details and features of what the product does. So the first part of this is we know about the third-party applications. Again, another statistic that proves that we need to spend time on those third-party applications. Regardless of whether you're a client IT shop or a server IT administrator, we just need to make sure that we actually patch those third-party applications, and they're out there, and they're rearing their ugly head. But the point of the matter is that 86% of those reported vulnerabilities came from third-party applications outside of the operating system. So a little bit more detail on that. You can see that the applications that are vulnerable was quite high. And you can see down here that the browser vulnerabilities was also high. But keep in mind that the percentage of applications compared to the percentage of browsers is quite a bit different. So that is actually a pretty high statistic as to the number of vulnerabilities just for browsers. And then, of course, the number of vulnerabilities for operating systems. And you can see that those are kind of trending downwards depending on who the vendor is. So Microsoft is really good about releasing better code. They're getting better about releasing patches on time and being able to reduce those vulnerabilities, but they're still there. So being able to patch all 3 of these categories is really going to make you effective, really going to make you secure, and being able to overcome some of the challenges that we have in a modern world. Not only can protect identify and deploy Microsoft patches, but also patching hundreds of applications from hundreds of vendors as well. So being able to identify those applications and being able to push out the appropriate patches. Shavlik Protect has mechanisms to be able to identify the application that's on each machine, but also be able to bring it together so that we can pull the actual package off of the vendor's website and be able to push that out through your organization in a nice pre-tested way. So let's talk about how this product actually works. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to actually install Protect on premise. So we install it on a virtual machine, we install it on a physical machine. The next thing that we do is Protect goes out and grabs all the patch information directly from Shavlik. And Shavlik has a process of identifying patches and being able to create that XML file so that you can consume that XML file and be able to download it to your organization. So once you've got that in your database, you now have something to compare all of those machines. So the next thing that you do is you actually scan all of your different hardware. And once the scan reports back and identifies those machines and identifies the missing patches, it reports back to Protect. Then from there, we can actually download patches from Microsoft as well as third-party applications. So we can get all of our patches from Adobe, we can get them from Apple, all those different types of things. It simply grabs them from the cloud, pulls them down, puts them on a local disk, and now you're able to deploy that throughout your organization. So the next thing we do is either on a schedule or immediately, if it's a 0-day type of vulnerability, those pre-tested patches are simply deployed out to your workstations, your servers, your laptops, whatever you need. So the process is similar to some of the off-premise machines. The difference is that we actually install an agent on that machine. So once I install the agent, then I simply define my patch policy. It syncs up with our cloud solution and pushes it out to the remote client. And so once you've got that agent on there, now we're pulling the XML files from the Shavlik cloud. There's no connection into your organization, but since you've got all that pre-configured, now I'm going to pull all the patches down from the different vendors on that remote client and just simply install them on the remote client. So some really cool things where you have control. You don't have to bug your users about patching their machines remotely, but it's all done through the cloud so that we're able to patch those machines and feel secure about those machines even before they come back into the organization. So let's switch from what Protect does to some of its ease of use options. And we talked about the installation and configuration. So being able to get up and running very quickly is going to make your IT organization much more effective. The other thing is these different distribution methods for patch. What are some of the things that we can do to distribute out? So we've got things like scanning the machines for patches without any agents. We can view missing patches. We can deploy patches by simply right-clicking on the patch once we've identified which ones are missing and be able to push those out. And we have options for automation and auto-deployment. We also have some intuitive reporting, and some of the features in 9.1 that are very interesting have to do with some of the customized reporting. So not only can we get this really good looking polished reports, and I'll show you that in just a minute, but we can also get into some of the detail and be able to drill down into some of the problematic areas of our organization. So agentless discovery and assessment and remediation. So let's get into some of the details of the actual product. Without going into a lot of demo, I just wanted to show you some of the basic details of what the product does. So you can see here's a screenshot, and this is actually how we go and discover machines. So the first thing is we can discover our machines in our environment quickly and easily, and we have multiple methods of being able to do that discovery. So we can discover it by IP address. We can put in our Active Directory credentials and be able to discover it by the database built in our Active Directory. We have some additional features where we can scan not only IPv4, but IPv6 as well. So being able to pull in all of the information in those machines, being able to identify which machines are out there in our organization and pull them into our database. So we now have a pretty good inventory of what those machines are. The other thing is how do we deploy patches if we don't always have credentials for those machines? Well, if we're already on an Active Directory, we have a domain credential that we can use to simply install those patches. So that's something that we can control, pull in the credentials, understand how we can access that machine and be able to push out patches effectively with the administrator's passwords. The other thing is that if we have different domains, if we have machines that are out there or whatever, we can actually identify those machines that don't necessarily fit our credentials and then be able to add additional credentials into the system. So individuals individual groups and entities or at the group level, however we need to do it to be able to access those machines to be able to install those patches. Once we set that process to go, then we can actually view the progress of us going and scanning those machines. And you'll see that we've got this nice little report that goes out and scans the machines in real time. The next thing is that we can view the status of those machines. So once the reporting comes back, we can understand which patches are missing and get a patch breakdown of all of the different patches out there and understand just with a basic view and this red level, orange level, green level type progress bar to understand which of those patches are critical, which are the ones that are missing, and how many are missing on those particular machines. And then the other thing is if there's any errors out there, if we don't have the appropriate credentials or we're unable to find the machine's not on, all those different types of things, we can view that through the status and understand what we need to do to remediate those different problems. Once we've identified those machines and once we understand where they are, now we can go, say we're in a data center, and we can go and agentlessly push out all of those patches to those machines that are missing. So now we go to this scan report where we can see all of the different machines, we can see which patches are missing, and then we can get into individual machines and be able to identify the exact patches that are missing. So I've got a patch that's missing on this particular machine. I'm just going to simply right-click on it and be able to push that patch out immediately to that machine, all agentlessly. So I don't necessarily have to install additional software on that machine. The other thing is that maybe I don't necessarily want to patch that machine right away. Well, I can schedule both the assessment if I'm worried about processing power and so forth during scheduled windows of time. I can schedule it during my maintenance window so that I'm able to scan it and patch it and then potentially reboot it as well if necessary. So here we get back to the actual reports, and this is one of my favorite reports, is the executive summary, because what it does is this is something that you can hand to an IT director, to a CIO, any person that's interested in the security of your organization. And as we learned from some of these incidents like Target and so forth, the CIO, the CEO, and some of these chief level executives don't necessarily have visibility into the organization, or maybe a compliance officer. They don't necessarily understand how many patches are missing and so forth without having to do an extensive scan. Well, this executive summary just comes up and says, look, I've got all these missing patches. And then you can compare this to afterwards, after you actually deploy all of those patches and be able to make sure that you can prove that you're compliant, be able to show your executives what the status of your entire organization is, and being able to drill down into individual machines that are the most critical and also the most insecure, the ones that you want to secure better. The other thing is you can get a high-level summary of the reports, and then you can drill down into the granular level of those reports, identifying individual patches, identifying individual machines that are problematic, understanding the criticality of each of the patches. All of those different things are part of Shavlik Protect and the reporting features. And then new to 9.1 is this thing where we can actually take it outside of the Protect reporting engine and identify those objects in the database to be able to do some third-party reporting. So maybe you've got a Crystal Reports or some of these other reporting engines that you can use to actually create reports around your patching and be able to help out your organization by getting better understandings of what the security and compliance issues may be. And this is probably one of the most exciting parts of this, which is the virtualization patching. One of the things that we've done here is that we've had a tight integration with VMware, and we're able to identify all these machines that are needing to patch, and then prevent some of these things like virtualization sprawl or spinning up virtualization machines that are unpatched, that have been offline. Some of these stale offline VMs, we can patch them before they come online and become problematic in your organization. So here's a few things that we can do for virtualization. And probably one of the biggest things that we can do for virtualization is keeping an agent off of each one of the VMs, keeping them lean and mean, not being able to mess up with the amount of space or the amount of CPU that you need for each virtual machine. So we do that all agentlessly. The other thing is that we can patch online VMs. So if the VM is up and running, we can just simply patch it. That's not a problem. And that seems pretty typical for most organizations and most processes, patching processes. If the machine is there and it's identifiable, then yeah, we can patch it. But this is where it really becomes cool. One of the things that we can do is we can actually patch the hypervisor. And patching the hypervisor is a little bit more difficult, but it's certainly critical because it is a Linux kernel. It's something out there that we can attack potentially, and there are patches available for it. So that's something that's unique to Shavlik Protect. But the other thing is that we can patch offline VMs. So if the VM is down and it's just in its pause state or off state, we can go ahead and patch that VM. And simply how we do it is we isolate it, we bring it up, apply the patch, and then expose it to the network. The other cool thing is that if you're deploying lots of virtual machines out there, we can actually patch the VMware template. So if you've got templates and so forth, we can spin those templates up, be able to patch them very quickly, and be able to deploy them very quickly. And then the last piece of this is our integration with VMware. So we get into vCenter, we can populate the machines in the inventory and be able to identify all of the virtual machines that are both online and offline so that we can target those machines with specific patches. So let's talk about that. This is our integration into VMware. You can see that vCenter here is populated with a series of machines. You can see the hypervisor there, and you can see all of the virtual machines that are part of that hypervisor. So there we view our virtual inventory. We can understand what's coming from vCenter, and then being able to identify those patches. So access your virtual infrastructure with a single click. We just simply click on the scan button, and it automatically populates the latest virtual machines and so forth, so that we can identify virtual machines as they come online. The other thing is that we can view available updates. So there's a lot of updates that are available for these particular machines. We've scanned them already. We understand which machines are ready for patches and so forth, and then we can deploy them from there. And it's really simple. We just simply select the patches that we want to push out and go ahead and deploy them. One of the things that we're good at too is also patching the hypervisor. So ESXi from VMware is one of the hypervisors that we can patch. And you can understand which patches are available for it. So we pull all that information from VMware. Once we understand which patches are coming from VMware, then we can review the machines that will be affected. Once we have those ESXi machines targeted and ready to go, Shavlik Protect simply pushes out the patches that are needed for ESXi. And we can also do some things where we can choose the type of deployment options that we need. So do we need to, stop all of the VMs? Do we need to suspend them? Do we need to, cancel the deployment if the VMs are on? All those different types of things. But we have absolute control over how we patch the hypervisor if there's a reboot necessary as part of that. So there's a couple of different versions of Protect. Most of the stuff that I've been talking about up until now is part of the standard configuration of Protect. And so what we're going to talk about here is some of the things that you can get with an advanced version of Protect, the second version of Protect. Not only would you get all of the features in the standard version of Protect, but you'd get some additional features that would help you secure your environment in the advanced version of Protect. The first feature is antivirus. To help you secure your environment more thoroughly, not only do we include patch management, but we also include antivirus to help you with the additional security needs of your environment. The second feature of Advanced is power management. Power management gives us a couple of different things. The first is that we can power on machines through Wake on LAN and be able to manage them. So we can power them up, we can patch them, and then we can power them down, all remotely. The next thing is that we also get some power savings off of power management. So you'll be able to reduce your bills, your power bills, through power management by shutting off machines that are not in use. This is some amazing features that will not only help with security, but help you save time and money. And the final feature of Protect Advanced is IT scripts. IT scripts help you to maintain your organization by running scripts that will help you with the configuration of machines. You can run these scripts on all of those machines at the same time and be able to change things like settings and configurations on each of the machines in your organization. These scripts are very flexible. You can either run some of the pre-canned scripts for basic IT tasks that come with Protect, or you can run your own custom scripts or import PowerShell scripts as well. So I've talked a lot about some of the features that we have in Protect. I've talked a lot about what are some of the benefits of Protect, and I've talked a lot about the industry standards. So we're pretty excited to bring this product to you. And I just wanted to go through a couple of things before we wrap this session up. One is that, remember that Patch has comprehensive patch management, both for the data center and for client systems. We have OS and third-party patching in a single solution that's going to help you increase your organization's security, help you, decrease the risk, and be able to overcome all of those security challenges or many of those security challenges that you have in your organization. And then reduce the amount of IT time that it takes for you to push out patches, especially as applications come online or you get additional applications. So getting more bang for the buck, getting a better patching solution for less money, we can help you with Shavlik Protect. It's easy to use and it has instant value. So you're up and running in 30 minutes. Make sure that you call a representative or talk to one of our sales representatives who can give you a demonstration, or simply go download a trial from our website. You'll be able to see how quick it is to install, how quick it is to set up, and how quickly you can get running with Shavlik Protect. And then, of course, the virtualization features are by far the best in the industry because we have that experience with VMware as a good partner and being able to integrate into some of their technologies. So check out those virtualization features. And then the last piece of this is reduce the IT headache, understanding how we can patch more efficiently, how we can patch at a better price level, how we can reduce IT's time that it takes to secure your organization is all part of Shavlik Protect. Thank you for taking your time listening to me today. Again, my name is Jordan Pusey. I'm the Product Marketing Manager. If you have additional questions, please check out our website, www.shavlik.com, and go to the Shavlik Protect web pages. There you'll get a lot of information about this exciting product from Shavlik Protect, and you can see some of the new features of our Shavlik Protect 9.1. Again, thank you for attending this presentation.